That was the birth of Midtown, yeah.
Welcome to the Lightweights Podcast. My name's Joe. Today's guest, Gabe Saporta of Cobra Starship.
The value of Snakes on a Plane was just the promo value. We got
the exposure.
We got so much exposure on that.
We talk everything Cobra, the music industry, what he's up to now.
Tattoos, Pete Wentz.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get the tattoo from Pete Wentz?
Was I supposed to do that?
Plus reuniting the band and getting shows back together.
What was it like putting together the set list for when we were young?
I got sucked into the weeds so hard for this whole thing. And it took a year, dude. It was a lot.
Plus, if you miss it on past episodes, I just had Gym Class Heroes, Travis McCoy.
And they're wearing the same shirt as him. And it's kind of like a metaphor for like, I'm not going to change who the fuck I am to suit you guys.
And other bands like Neck Deep, The Rex, State Champs, The Main, Mayday Parade. Browse through my channel. There's a ton of bands on there. So if you guys like this interview, give it a thumbs up. Let me know who else you want me to have on the podcast. Please enjoy Gabe Saporta.
Just like you, I started my own little magazine so that I can just interview people that I really like.
Oh, how'd you know that? You heard that somewhere?
Yeah, I read it from you. I made like this one interview website where I got to like Census Fail and The Main, and it was just my way into these artists to try and like pick their brains, and that's basically what this whole podcast is.
Wow. Did you ever actually publish your magazine?
It was a website and yeah, I bought it like on Wix, and I would just post the videos on YouTube and then simultaneously put it on there. I was like, "Hi, I'm reaching out from Artist Nation," and that was what it was called. But can you tell me about what you started to do for that? Like, did you ever publish your magazine?
No, so this was before, this is pre-internet like blogs, so I was like a kid. So I did have a zine actually when I was in high school that I got in trouble for doing. It was called Free Beer Coupon Inside, FBCI. and it was just like a joke zine that we just did. Like it was like literally Xerox photocopies, like literally cutting stuff up, making like collages. Like it was like a cool, like fun, like punk rock DIY zine. Kind of silly, kind of, but like I had a whole bunch of stuff only like in my school, then stuff like political, like whatever, and then since I kind of knew how to do that, I was like, I remember I had done some interviews with local artists or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go to shows and just say I have a zine and just try and talk to people. Yeah. So yeah, I did it. I did it a few times. And that's before I was even playing music. Once I started playing music, then you have more access a little bit,
Yeah.
Before that, when I was like a kid, I was like 15, 16 at the time I'm talking about,
I think I was 18. It was just my way to like, can I get on the bus? Like,
yeah.
What does it look like?
What was the best interview you did?
The Main.
The Main.
Yeah, because that was the coolest one because they invited me to stay for the show, which I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. So I waited.
You weren't planning to go to the show?
The interview was like 3 hours before the set, and I was so far away from home. So what was I going to do?
You didn't know that when you ask someone to interview them, you also can ask for tickets?
So early in the game, I didn't think that far ahead.
It's like, hey, I'm taking time out. I'm going to cover your band. I'm going to give you promo. Like, give them to the show, of course.
I didn't realize it was like I was helping them in a way too. I just thought it was like, oh wow, I get to meet them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you actually ask them questions about the business and stuff?
Yeah. What was so shocking with them was I thought I was only getting one person, but all 5 of them were waiting on the bus for me, and I had all of their attention. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're from Jersey too?
I went to Montclair.
You went to Montclair?
And I'm from Marlboro,
New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's south, right?
Like 10 minutes from Rutgers.
Okay, yeah. I went to Rutgers.
I partied there.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you go to Frat Row? Did they have that all there?
They did. I was not in the frat scene. I went to like a couple of frat parties, but I was already just so deep in music. I was just like not like all my extracurricular time was like dedicated to like either shows or rehearsal or just like being in the music world. Because I took a year off before I went to college, to like pursue music, and then going to college was my resignation to be like, okay, I can't make it in music. I'm gonna go to school, get an education.
And you were still pushing through music while you were at school.
It's funny. I took a different perspective to it. This just goes to show you the paradox. Like I was like really. When I was younger, I was like, yeah, we're going to do music, blah, blah, blah. Like it's going to be, I'm going to like figure it out, go on tour. And I was very like, being DIY is kind of like being entrepreneurial in a way, right? You have to just like figure stuff out. There's not an infrastructure, especially back then. Like there weren't even venues you could play in New Jersey. So I was the one doing that. And I loved it. I was very dedicated to it. And then when I got to college, I got kicked out of that band. This is like really young. And I went to school, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just going to do music for fun with my friends and not worry about anything. And the minute I did that and gave up on the business stuff, the business got bigger, So it's like a weird paradox.
And that was the birth of Midtown?
That was the birth of Midtown, yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Did you finish up college there?
No. And what's funny is yesterday I actually had lunch with the advisor for my major. His name is Doug Husak. He was the head of the philosophy department at Rutgers while I was there. but he just retired last year. So I had lunch with him yesterday. I saw him yesterday. Oh, wow. 2-hour lunch. Yeah, we go deep. It's great. It's great because he's a total atheist, and I'm more, I would say, I used to be agnostic, but I think that I'm more like spiritual now. Like I really feel like I've had experiences with something bigger in the universe. So it's hard for me to be like I'm agnostic. I'm not religious, like in terms of like dogmatic, and I can talk about spirituality in a way that an atheist philosopher can understand. So we had like a 2-hour debate about it yesterday. It was great.
Oh wow, he was out here.
He was here. Yeah, he was here. He's on his way to Australia. He stopped by for like a day, and we just had lunch with him. It was awesome.
Was it easier for you to grow a band being around so many people your age at university?
Yeah, I mean, the whole Jersey scene that we were part of was sprung up out of necessity because there was no venues for that would allow bands that were under 21 to play, right? And the few that did, like, would just rip off these bands, make you sell tickets. It was just
pay to play.
Yeah, pay to play. It was BS. So we basically organized ourselves. It was like a youth movement. We just like organized ourselves, like rented out VFW halls, like, and just like all the kids in like the local high schools in 50-mile radius would just come and just do that for the weekend, So it was a very special time. Someone's doing a documentary on the Jersey scene of that time. It's called The Last Scene. I forgot his name, but he's a great guy. But he's really documenting. Like, it was very unique. I don't think it was common in every other place. I think Long Island had something similar. Chicago had something similar. But you're talking about a movement by kids for kids. That was based around music. It was very cool.
Yeah, the VFW halls were where I was at every Friday night.
Yeah, but like it wasn't professional promoters doing that. It was kids. It was me, my brother, Heath Miller, like a bunch of these just like kids that didn't really know what they were doing and just kind of figuring it out,
At what point did it start to feel like you were onto something?
I think when we started getting calls from booking agents, so I remember I did a show for this band called 88 Fingers Louie, which from 88 Fingers Louie, Rise Against came out of that band. And they're from Chicago and they were playing a show in New York, had one in Philly, and they were looking to fill the date. So they heard about what we were doing, and I just got a random phone call, and I had to like book a show. I remember in like 1 week I put together a show, and 400 kids came out. And, that's when agents were just like, what the hell is going on here? And then I started basically, because of that, then Midtown started touring. And my brother kind of really ran with the whole show things. He had a collective called Bomb Shelter Collective, which was just like, did huge shows, like Jimmy Eat World at Wayne Firehouse, 1,000 people, at the drive-in. He did Get Up Kids. He did a lot of cool early stuff during that time.
What did you do with all the profits from putting those shows together?
My brother really did that, and he had a collective. So I didn't stay in that, like the promoting business. I did it like as a way to get my band shows, like because I would open all the shows I did, but my goal was to play shows. So once we started touring, I'm not booking shows anymore. But my brother had this collective with his friends called the Bomb Shelter Collective, and they kind of like would do shows and invest the money into new shows. I remember that our house at Rutgers, 120 Hamilton Street, we like cleaned out the basement and started doing shows there. It was like the basement was just full of debris and just like construction stuff, and we like invested money to like be able to do shows there. Or he did, yeah. Really.
Are you self-pressing CDs and selling them at this point?
We did do that, yes. And then we also worked with like local labels. There's a label called Pinball Records. It was like basically the same as self-pressing it, Yeah. But I self-pressed 7 inches. Yeah, and we did the whole thing. Everything was DIY. It was DIY until you found other DIY people that were doing it, and then you just like kind of share. It's like, okay, well, I really want to focus on this. You want to focus on that, and we kind of just all share. But there was like no contracts, no anything. It was like,
What was life for you like then? Was it 24/7 about the band, or were you still trying to balance other things?
The year that I took up before college was 24/7 about the band, and I think my dad made me get a job. I worked at Hot Topic. Got fired from Hot Topic, and then I had to just like.
Why'd you get fired?
I was too punk rock, I think. I said something that was like anti-corporate at the store, and they were just like, I was like a very young kid, I've had to like, chill out since then. But I was very idealistic, and it was interesting. So then I was just 24/7 music, and then when I was in school, I was just doing school and doing music, and that was it. Yeah.
Were festivals a thing back then? Like Skate and Surf wasn't even?
Skate and Surf came about, I think the first Skate and Surf was 2001. We played the first one, Midtown played the first one, but it wasn't a thing yet, And then from Skate, there was Warped Tour, but again, it wasn't like...
Everybody go to it?
It wasn't like festivals are out in California. Like, here, when I talk to people that grew up here, they're just like, Coachella was just like a ritual.
It was a lifestyle.
It was a lifestyle. Like everybody went, you know, you're planning for it. You go to, there wasn't this thing of like, let's get hotels and go to a festival. Like the festivals were locals. They were just like bigger shows, right? Like, but no one would like be like, let's get a hotel package to stay for this festival. Like you wouldn't travel that far. Warped Tour came to you. It was a festival, but it was just like a big show one day that came to wherever you were. It was a traveling huge show. There was an all day show, but you know, that kind of festival wasn't like the idea of like going out and like spending 3 days somewhere wasn't really the same.
What a change.
It's a big change. Yeah.
You've seen so much change over the music industry, from album sales to now just all pushing digitally.
Yeah, that was fascinating because I definitely lived through that as an artist. I think if I would have been in any other era as an artist, I would have made enough money to retire during those times, you know, but like CDs stopped selling, and it was before music was really, you know, profitable through streaming. There was no monetization model for streaming then.
At what point did album sales start to diminish for you in your musical career?
Oh, dude, I remember exactly. It was 2000, 2003. So, you know, when the music business was in its heyday in the 90s, is this interesting for you, by the way?
Fascinating,
okay.
yeah.
So when the music industry was in its heydays, you know, and by the way, the music industry kind of did it to themselves because they started exploiting the public, right? What do I mean by that? What I mean is that, you know, they would reinvent a medium by which to deliver music all the time to make people have to repurchase all of their collections. So you would have a collection, say you had a collection of 8 tracks. Great. Then all of a sudden it's like, now you're on vinyl or like whatever. Like, you know, there's always like a new medium, you know, then the CD came out, and the CD was supposed to be the final thing. It was like, wow, it's like this beautiful, perfect disc. It sounds amazing. You know, you have your collection. People rebought CDs for years, all their collections. They had CD players. You could take it anywhere in your car. The Discman, you know, that was a big change in Discman. And before that, you had cassette players, right? And cassette players were annoying. You had to like fast forward. So the technology was perfected. And I think that, I might get this wrong, but there is some connection between the company that created CDs and marketed, and also that they owned like a big major company that owned catalogs. So I think it was Sony and Philips, and they had something, I don't remember, I've read about it once, but there is some connection there that they basically created this medium to get their catalog. You know, how do you re-energize an old catalog? Everyone already owns it on vinyl or tape or 8-track. How are you going to make them buy it? Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So you do that enough to the public, they get annoyed. And then I think further, you know, you had this, all of a sudden, you know, these CDs were costing $16, $18 sometimes, right? And people started buying CDs a lot. You had these like Columbia House CD clubs, like people wanted CDs. And then there was a lot of artists coming around, and they would put out albums that were garbage with just 1 or 2 hit singles on it. So people stopped wanting to listen to the albums. They're like, why am I spending $20 when all I want is this? So really out of that, people are just like, let's just trade the songs that we only like online.
And that's for Kazaa.
Yeah, and all that thing, Napster, right? So it's like, we don't really want this album. We're not really bought into this artist. Like, you're selling me something that's disposable. I like this song, but I don't really believe in this artist, right? And that's why when I say the music industry kind of did it themselves is, you know, you stop focusing on real artistry, trying to make a project, trying to make an album that people can really immerse themselves in and experience. People are just going to be cherry picking what they like and just trading it, you know, and not really interested in other stuff. So, you know, even if that whole thing didn't happen, you're still talking about, you know, removing, you know, wanting to buy a song for, even when it was legal through Apple iTunes, people were then just buying the songs they liked for $1. They're not buying the whole album. So the music business really deteriorated even when it was legal, right? Because you didn't have this whole scheme of like, I'm going to sell you something for $20 that you only like one song on it, right? Then people were able to cherry pick and like, nah, I'm just going to spend $1.
Right.
So even if forget about the illegal downloading, even on the legal way, you're talking about, you know, 10% of the revenues. So that was, I think, the beginning of the end. I remember we were just signed. We were on Drive-Thru. Midtown was on Drive-Thru, and Drive-Thru had done a deal with MCA. And the president of MCA, we were in his office. He's like very upset, and he's like, "Listen to that." He's playing us a song. He's like, "How does it sound?" I'm like, "Sounds great." Yeah. He's like, "Sounds great, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "This is terrible." I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, this is an MP3. So, you know, what he was concerned is that all of a sudden you had these things that were small files that sounded amazing, right? Because before that you had waves, and waves were very big. I remember when I was a kid on chats, I would try to like send people waves and people get mad and be like, stop clogging up my inbox with your 40 megabyte file, you know? So MP3s really changed everything. So I remember I was there, and when the MP3s came out and like became popular, and you had all these sites that you could just trade MP3s, it was just over. The music business was decimated. Huge consolidation, no new artists were getting signed. People were getting dropped, you know, if something was obviously big. But what really happened is that it was the erosion of the middle class of artists. It was either like feast or famine, go big or go home. So like when I was a kid growing up, you know, my favorite band was Nirvana, right? That's what inspired me to want to do music. It's like, oh, they look like they look like us. It wasn't like Guns N' Roses or like Motley Crue, just big hair. Like
you felt like you could be them.
You felt like you could be Nirvana, you know? And even though like with other metal bands, they were fun and cool, it wasn't inspiring to be like, I can do this too. Nirvana had this big thing of like, hey, they're a garage band. Like that's the thing. It's like, you can do this in your garage, right? So it was very inspiring. I think a lot of bands popped up from there. They also came from a scene where there were a lot of bands. So like there's a band, you know, that took Nirvana on tour early on called Mudhoney. You probably haven't heard of them. So they were a band that could sell probably 200,000 albums a year, you know, at $7 a pop wholesale. That's like, what is it, $1.4 million a year for the group, right? So, you know, and then they get their royalties, whatever it is, 10%, 20%, right? You know, it's like no one's getting rich from that, but they can make a living selling albums, right, to their core fan base. You didn't have to have a hit. Then in the era that I came up in, you had to have a hit to make a living, right? There was no middle class anymore. And I think what's amazing about the business now is the reemergence of the middle class artists.
So true. Because you can make a lifestyle just putting out music and having that fan base.
And you don't got to play ball. So like when I was coming up, I mean, that's really what I realized in Cobras. With Midtown, I really experienced, you know, I had songs that were singles, were playing on the radio, whatever. They weren't like runaway hits, but I had a fan base. I sold a couple 100,000 albums, but like it wasn't the same then anymore. That went down. The album sales went down, and people were trading the MP3s for the songs that liked. So you couldn't really sustain that as an artist to have like your middle class career.
Would songs, for example, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Snakes on a Plane, when you have a song that you write for a movie, is that a big paycheck coming in from the? It's not.
No, I don't think we made that much. I mean, Snakes, the value of Snakes on a Plane was just the promo value. We got
the exposure.
We got so much exposure on that. Like, you know, I had done Midtown. Midtown was over, and I'd been working on Cobra Starship for a year, and I had these songs, and I didn't have I remember my manager kept being like, oh, we need to find the right launch pad, the right vehicle. I'm just, what the fuck are you talking about? What's a launch pad? You know, like, I'm a kid. I'm 24 years old. Like, I'm just like, what is going on? But I understood what he said. It's like, you have these great songs, but if you don't have something to connect it with that's culturally big, it's hard to make an impact. So for me, Snakes on a Plane, like I went from literally doing nothing to being on red carpets in the span of a month, you know? Oh wow. Yeah. So it was a big moment culturally. So I think that just like having, and then that really was like kind of the goal of Cobra Starship, is also like, there's a part of me that was very like into pop culture. You know, there's a part of me that's very anti-culture and punk rock. There's another part of me that's just like fascinated by pop culture too. You know, I think that's what's an artist is someone who's like is like with the outcasts and can also be a part of it. It's like you stand on the periphery of both.
Right. I always thought that just those movies would be paying out so much.
It depends. Everything is a deal. You got to make a deal, right? If you're huge and they want you to write something for the movie, yeah. If you're not huge, it's like it's valuation. Like you're selling a company. Like, you know, it's your startup. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Cobra Starship.
Personally, for me, I don't think we got paid much on Snakes on a Plane. Maybe a little bit for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but no, I don't think it was big. We're still pretty small then for both.
When you said that you were being like thrown out to red carpets and stuff, is that just from presence now because of that exposure? Or were you riding the coattails from your album that already had success?
What, you're saying why were we on red carpets?
Yeah, well, did that movie really catapult you to more mainstream?
No, well, yes.
Not album, sorry, the song.
That song was everywhere. I don't think people that weren't around then understand how big that was.
Oh, I remember it.
You remember, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense. You know, why was it so big? It was just like perfect, like early days online viral marketing. I mean, their whole premise was the movie's called Snakes on a Plane. It's about snakes on a plane. Samuel Jackson's in it. It is the best movie that has ever been made.
And he has the best quote at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Right. So it's like before the movie came out, they were just telling the world that this was the greatest movie coming out that has ever been made. Right. And that was just like kind of a joke. Right. And when the movie came out, it was just like a terrible, like pulp B movie, and for movie buffs who like that genre of movies, they thought it was hilarious. For other people, they felt duped by it. And people were mad. People were mad about how bad the movie was. Some people got the joke. Some people didn't get the joke. Right. And it was fascinating because our song was on the charts climbing. We were independent. We had a song on the charts climbing. The movie came out. Everyone dropped the song, But for a couple months there leading up to it with the whole marketing campaign and everything, we were everywhere. I mean, we were in the trailer of the song, like all the major media outlets were covering it. So, and Cobra Starship was getting mentioned along with it because I had the name Cobra Starship already. So when Sex on a Plane came out, it was like synergistic just in the name. So that was like a great catapult because everyone knew Cobra Starship, but then everyone also hated us because they hated the movie. So they thought everyone felt duped. So they felt it was a sham. So I remember that I was like conscious, like, okay, if everyone tells you that your band is fake, you can argue about it until you're blue in the face, or you can just go out and prove it. So I just went out and proved it. I just spent a year on the road and I put out an album like a year after the first album that came out around the same time Sex on a Plane came out. Everyone forgot about Six on a Plane. It was like, wow, this fucking second album is awesome. That's one Patrick Stump produced for Cobra. And we went from like being, like, I remember we were voted by Alternative Press to be the band you won't hear about again next year in 2006. And then in 2007, we were the most underrated band. Yeah.
Did you always have that in you to go prove people wrong?
Yes, always. Because, I think I've gotten dealt some bad hands in life, and I just really didn't want to become a victim of those bad hands. Yeah,
because a lot of people fall to that.
Yeah, it's very easy to fall to. Yeah, and I saw people fall to that. It's funny, my manager, because Midtown had two major label record deals. We had a deal at Universal, and then we had a deal at Columbia. Again, at the beginning of the decline. So we were on Universal, MCA, Drive Through. That was that whole system. I guess we signed to Drive Through in 99, maybe 98, and they did their deal with Universal MCA. We got upstreamed for our second album, which I think was 2000, 2001. I mean, I'm terrible at dates. We could look this up. But
what does upstream mean?
Upstream means like you go from like the same way like you're in the minor leagues in baseball and you get like
pushed up to the majors.
Kind of same thing. So we were on Drive Through, which then set up a system, a partnership with MCA Universal, that when their artists start doing well, they can do like the nurturing, development,
right?
And the minor leagues, quote unquote, the indie leagues. On Drive Through, you develop, and then when MCA is like, okay, these guys have proven themselves, we want to give them a shot now at a major and go for a single. That's kind of the idea of upstream.
Do you get a big signing bonus going to an independent label?
No, you don't sign for anything on an independent label. Most independents don't give you bonuses.
So it's just let's just distribute the music and see where it goes.
Well, they invest in the music.
They pay for the production.
They pay for marketing. Very rarely you're getting in. I didn't get any in-pocket advances on an indie. I got in-pocket. When I got upstreamed, I got an in-pocket advance.
Can you just pull that a little closer to you?
Yeah. So we were on this major label, and then this major label then got absolved. MCA then didn't exist anymore and got absorbed into Interscope, Geffen. They did this IGA thing, and it was gone. So all my people were gone, everything. So I was like, out.
Do you get a whole new team?
No, basically you get dropped. I got shelved.
Which is the worst thing that could happen.
Even worse. And then we fought to get dropped. Then we got dropped, and we made our third album with Butch Walker, and we actually spun the industry into like a feeding frenzy, got a big deal at Columbia. So we went to the Sony system. Then Columbia then had a merger, and they had this whole buyout thing also with like Terra Firma, Guy Hands, like this whole thing, and everyone was gone too. And my manager would say, Gabe, a lot of artists like to say that they got fucked, but you really got fucked.
How do you get out of that?
How do you get out of getting fucked? Like the technical of getting out of the contract? How do you get out of the mindset?
The contract. You're just stuck in that limbo?
No, negotiations. You got to negotiate out. You got to make a deal.
And it takes forever.
Everything's negotiable. It takes forever. So what I did was while I was twice stuck in contracts. And during that time, I just, let it play out and just work on music. That's the only thing you can do.
Right.
So that I was ready to go. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I was just building my
talent artistry.
Yeah, I was gonna make an analogy to war. My armory, whatever your supply is of weapons before you go to war. You know, is building that up, and then once you're free, you're just like, let's go.
Right, and
yeah,
that's the birth of Cobra.
That was yes, that was the birth of Cobra, and also the second at bat for Midtown.
How do you find the sound for Cobra?
At that point, I started. A lot of the kids that grew up going to these VFW shows moved to the city, moved to Brooklyn, moved to Jersey City, and we were all starting to go out to these kind of like indie new wave parties that were being thrown by kids that grew up in the punk rock scene, kind of taking that DIY ethos and kind of doing these cooler parties. And it was like an interesting mix of people that went there, and we just started listening to like stuff we kind of like heard growing up, like Depeche Mode and other stuff, and like going into more new wave. So, you know, and a lot of other stuff was happening at the time too. LCD Sound System was happening at the time. A lot of like that New York influence was coming into Cobras, and I said I want to do something that marries that and where I came from.
So you went in with that mindset, and then are you just messing around with demos until you find that?
Yes, I was messing around. Like a lot of these programming softwares were just coming out. I was using a program called Reason back then, which is not that popular anymore. I just started messing around. Like I remember like one of my principles was when I write songs, I want to start with a beat, right? Because back then, every time most people sat down to write songs, you would sit down with an acoustic guitar and see what comes out. So I'm just like, okay, I just want to start with a beat and see where it goes from there. So that was just a different approach, and it just opened up to be able to explore more sounds than I normally did.
And then is that when you started working with Sam and Sluggo?
That was afterwards. So I had like a year of all these songs, and then my manager connected me with those guys. I was the first one of that crew to work with them. And then the Snakes on a Plane thing happened, and I had this song called Bring It, and we changed the chorus of that to bring in William from the Academy Is, and we brought Maya from the Sounds. The Sounds were signed to New Line Records, which New Line Cinema did Snakes on a Plane.
I remember going to the Decadence label office in New York City, and I just remember seeing every artist.
Why did you go there?
Someone had assigned something there, and I remember just popping through. I was with somebody else, and I just thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the records up there. Yeah. That's where we recorded a lot of stuff. At the back of that office, there was a little recording studio.
Is that where you and Patrick did Viva La Cobra?
No, we did that on tour mostly, and then we wrote most of that while we were on tour together. We did like 2 tours together that year.
Honda Civic?
Yeah, Honda Civic was one of them, and I can't remember the other one. I think we were in Australia with them or something. I don't remember. But we toured together, wrote it on the road. I spent some time with him in Chicago, and then we recorded the record. We got a studio in Brooklyn. The last interview I did, Mission Sound. It was called Mission Sound, yeah, in Brooklyn.
What was recording with Patrick like?
Awesome. He's very talented. Yeah, and it's a good synergy with like me and him, probably similar to what he has with him and Pete. You know, it's like I'm like writing lyrics and ideas, and he's like an amazing melody guy. Yeah. And
are you guys just working from morning till night on this, laser focused, or is there in between time where you're like, let's come back to this in a little?
No, yeah. Well, when we were in the studio, when you're in the studio, you have like a set amount of days, so it's like morning to night. You just go there, show up, and just stay there all day and just work on the record. You don't leave. You know, maybe you go out for lunch, get lunch ordered. But on the road, it was just whenever we found time, we were just doing it.
For you as a songwriter, do you think that you're the sharpest when you're in that mindset?
Yes. In the studio, just removed from distractions. For our third album, we rented a house out in the Poconos, like far away, like in the middle of winter. Like we couldn't do anything. We're just stuck in the house. You force yourself to be bored and not have distractions so that you could write great music.
And are you going in with demos and like rough ideas that you have?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes some things get created in the studio. Yeah.
Are there any songs that stick out to you of yours that you're just blown away at how it came together?
Yeah, a lot of them. Dude, I have one song on Viva La Cobra that I literally wrote on an app, like a shitty music app, on my Sidekick. Do you remember those T-Mobile Sidekicks?
Of course.
They had like a terrible music app on it, and I wrote a song on there. Yeah, I started it there, and we literally used a sound from it, plugged in that sound, and just put it in the record. It's crazy. Yeah. So the way some of those things came together, just like what? Yeah.
Can you take me back to the "You Make Me Feel" music video?
Sure.
Were music videos something that you looked forward to as an artist?
No.
Why? Because that seems like it'd be the creative freedom day to just hang out and have fun.
No, I don't know. It's just like so much start and stopping and like get the angle right and like come in, like it's too much. Like, I love shows because it's like you just go and it's on. You're playing the music, you're riding the wave. Like when you're doing a video, you're just like trying to cut to a certain thing, trying to get a shot. Like, You know, I don't really like doing videos.
How involved are you in the editing process to make sure it comes out how you want it to be?
Not at all.
You don't care?
I do care, but I don't want to see it getting made. You know, it's like I want to look at it and be like, do I like this, not like this, give my notes on certain parts and give it back. Yeah. I don't want to sit there while it's being edited. It's like mixing too. I hate sitting there during mixing. It's
getting
like,
the sound right.
Yeah, dude, because the thing is, I have such a tendency to get sucked in so much into the weeds that if I get sucked into the weeds, I lose sight of the bigger thing I'm trying to do.
What was it like putting together the set list for When We Were Young? Did you get sucked
Getting fucking sucked into the weeds. The whole thing.
You're back in it.
I got sucked into the weeds so hard for this whole thing. And it took a year, dude. It was a lot. It was a lot to bring, first show in 10 years, and it's like, people don't understand when you're touring and stuff, it's a fucking machine. Like you have an operational machine. You have go on a tour. It's like you have like a full organization that's on the road that like everyone has their part. Everyone's supposed to be doing something. Like it's just flowing. It just keeps moving. When you don't have that thing turned on, when you don't have it like the people in place to run that machine, you're starting from scratch. It's very slow moving at the beginning, very slow moving.
And is it just you taking on everything?
No, you're trying to find people to do certain things. You do it until you can't do it. I mean, luckily I have an amazing team.
Now that you have the set list all together, everyone's practiced, Warped Tour is coming up. Are opportunities like that something that you would normally just throw away, now more on the table? Like maybe we could do this? It's like you're headlining Emo Night, 10-year.
Yeah.
So did that only come because when we were young, you already had things in place?
Yes. I mean, we've been getting offers for years, and I say no to most offers.
I'm so curious what those offers are, if you can share any.
No, I don't think I can really share the but yeah, I say no to a lot of stuff. For me, I lost money to do
When We Were Young.
When We Were Young, yeah, because for me at this point, it's really just about cementing a great legacy for Cobra Starship. I think it was like an amazing moment in time. And what was great about When We Were Young is that I was really able to do the show that I kind of always envisioned, but we never got there during our career. Yeah.
Was it?
Did you see the show? Were you there?
I wasn't there, but I saw online.
Yeah, it was a big show.
How did you and Tara come together? Tara Yummy.
We were trying to think of someone that matched our vibe that was current today.
Perfect
and
vibe.
I think Karina's your call, right? Fish, Mike Fishkin, yeah.
Great
Thank
collab.
you, Fish. I'm like, who do we get? Who's like this? Yeah.
Was it everything that you wanted it to be?
Oh yeah, and more. It was great. I did not expect to get the response that we got. I knew it was going to be good because we worked really hard on it, so it felt good. At the beginning, I was really nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, wow, this is just going to be like, we're gonna suck. We're not gonna be able to play. But we put in the work. You have to put in the work. It takes a lot of work. I mean, rehearsed every week for over 6 months.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
When did it first come out? Was the big announcement from them that you guys were playing it?
When we were young?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year they announced every. I think so. Yeah, they announced. I think the week after the festival happens, they announce the next year's lineup. So they have it in the works for almost 2 years in advance. Oh wow. Yeah, so we knew about it for a long time before we could say anything. How
does it come together? You get an email in your inbox?
Oh no! I still have agents, so even though we're not operational, I still have, we're at CAA, so they get the calls,
and then they present the offers to you.
Yeah. They always call me with stuff, and I'm just like, and I feel bad because if you say no so many times, people stop bringing you offers, and I know that, but
still want the invites.
What?
We still want the invites, even though we're not going to show up.
Yeah, but eventually people stop inviting if you don't show up. So no, Again, I just want to do things. For me, the cool thing about Cobra Starship was that it was just such an interesting, cultural thing. We just weaved in and out of different cultural movements and, moments. And I like that. I think that's interesting. So I just wanted, whatever we do now, it has to just be interesting to me. If I can't answer, what's interesting about this, I'm not going to do it.
It really left its mark on the scene.
Thank you.
It really did.
Yeah.
Did you view Cobra more as a business to take it as far as it can versus Midtown? Because now you already had your feet on the ground, you understood things, you're a little bit older, you're a little bit wiser. Now you can kind of navigate the industry a little bit better.
100%. And, and when I say that I cared about the business, it's not that I didn't, it doesn't preclude you caring about the art and caring about the music you're making, but what it really meant was that I was going to stop being a shithead, you know, because when you're like a young punk rock kid and you're doing music, it's like you're kind of just like want to burn the whole thing down as you're doing it, right? And I really have that tendency. I had that tendency to. I have a lot of Scorpio on my chart. You know, Scorpion's the only animal that in nature, when it's in the corner, it'll kill itself. So I had a big burn bridges policy, and really, when I say I cared about the business, it means taking that part of my personality away. I'm not going to burn the whole thing down when something doesn't go my way. Getting out of my own way, trying to like be serious about the fact that it's a business. I didn't understand that it was a business when I started doing music. I was doing music for fun with my friends. I didn't understand there was a music industry, you know?
You're just playing music.
Just playing music. So once I understood there was an industry and how it works, and then also like people like, what I really learned when I started talking to like people that were like more rank and file in these bigger companies, you know, because usually as an artist, you go into a company, you get signed, you're talking to the president, the head of A&R, whatever. You're not talking to like the everyday people that work there that, you know, are doing a lot of the work. And once we're signed, I really like spent time getting to know these people and stuff. And I just realized like, I'm like, you know, because artists have a tendency to hate the label, and that includes everyone top to bottom, whatever. They hate the premise of it. But I really got to know these people, and it's like, wow, these are people who maybe can't be artists or wanted to be artists, but they love music the same way that I love music. And they're smart. They probably could be making more money somewhere else and choose to be here because they have a passion. And like, that's beautiful, you know? So it's like, you know, when I really saw that, I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to hate the business. I'm going to try to work with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Cobra brought some controversy in terms of
Uh-oh.
going platinum, tattoos, Pete Wentz.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get the tattoo from Pete Wentz?
Was I supposed to do that? I said that I would get a tattoo of Pete Wentz if we went platinum.
His selection, your choice of placement.
No, we got to do it still. It's on my to-do list. Oh my God. Was that the thing? I need evidence of that because people are saying that was a thing, but I need to see where I agreed to that. So
were you guys always kind of pranking each other? Because he wore a shirt with your phone number on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were... I was the crazy one and Pete loved to egg me on, you know? So like, I think that was our dynamic. Like, you know, in a way, Pete was kind of my boss. I was signed to his label. Right. So, you know, but I think Pete loved, we were just like bros. We toured so much. And then Pete always used to get hired to do these like DJ appearances. And I think part of him just didn't want to do them. So I always went with him to them. And I love to party. So I would love to go out. I was like the one that had fun and just brought it. And so it became a very good relationship based on debauchery. But we also had like a very deep connection also just about music. Him and I were both bass players. We both come from punk rock. And we both were like the people that were known in our, you know, in the bands. Like, I got kicked out of my first band because I was kind of the Pete Wentz of that band. You know, no one knew the singer. People knew me as the bass player, and I got kicked out. Yeah.
Did they did the whole VFW Hall show too in Chicago?
Sure. Yeah.
That scene existed there, just not as big as Jersey.
Yeah, it was pretty big. The first 7-inch I ever pressed was with a band from Chicago. It was my first band called Humble Beginnings with a band from Chicago called Oblivion. And Chicago and Jersey had a very similar scene happening with like underground kind of pop punk. It was this scene really came from like hardcore and pop punk coming together. You know, it's weird. That's what emo really is in a way. Right. And it was just kind of happening because pop punk it was really punk. Right. It was punk that was pop leaning. Right. Like people started getting to the Ramones and this band called Screeching Weasel, which was from Chicago, but that kind of melodic punk rock East Coast, which is different than the skate punk that was happening on the West Coast, was really happening by kids for kids at like VFW halls. In Chicago, they had a place at least called the Fireside Bowl, which was super cool. It's a bowling alley that did punk rock shows, 400 person cap. And it was awesome. It was very like felt DIY punk rock.
What was the Jersey venue? It was like on a racetrack. It kind of shut down. Did you ever play there?
Yeah, Bamboozle. You talking about?
No, that was the festival. There was like one venue. It was on like a racetrack on like Route 18 or something.
On a racetrack?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Boonton Elks Lodge, Route 18?
Something like, nah.
But it was a venue?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever played it. That might have been after my time. When we played, there was really no venues.
Were you checking like Pure Volume and Absolute Punk and AP Magazine just to see what was happening in the scene?
No. I don't really pay attention to what's going on sometimes.
No.
Which is sometimes too. So sometimes I think that's good. Like the times that I had the most success as an artist is when I had no idea what was going on around me. When I really just immersed myself in what I was trying to do. Yeah. When I start paying attention too much to what other people are doing, it just fucks me up.
You were the main support for Justin Bieber.
Yeah. That was the last tour Cobra Starship did. That's why after that, I'm just like, dude, I just played for 80,000 people at a stadium in Chile. I don't know where it goes from here. I don't think I can get much further than this. Yeah.
Was that a crazy time?
It was awesome. Yeah. It was crazy. But also because I was born in Uruguay in South America. So my family had never seen me play really. So,
And they saw you there.
Yeah. So they get to see you in the stadium. They're like, oh, Gabe, you made it.
That's wild.
It was cool. It was cool. But yeah, after that, I was just like, cool. I think I'm good now. Yeah.
And then what did you want to do from there once you realized like you did it?
I wanted to be on the business side of music. I really, out of necessity, I learned about the business, and I really fell in love with it because, I didn't hate it as much as I used to. I really saw that it was full of people that really just loved music and wanted to be around it, be involved, and were passionate. And there's a lot of bad people in the music business because there's really no barrier to entry. There's no certifications. So it's really word of mouth. You have to build a reputation. So, I felt like I had done a lot of work in the business and I understood it. I wanted to learn, and I felt like I understood a good amount. Now that I'm in the business for a few years now, I really did not understand anything. There's a lot that I did not know. And even today, I'm learning a lot all the time. I really consider myself like a student.
So what do you think that you bring to the artist group, your management label, from other people?
Just firsthand experience. I think that's very rare. You have a lot of people that had, try to be artists and, my managers when I was an artist were both artists too, but they never had real success, right?
You had it.
I had it, yeah. So and the interesting thing is that I had it in the pop world, right? So I know that whole system of this machine, this pop machine, and how it works, and when the faucet is on, what that's like, and how to navigate that because it gets turbulent. But then also I come from an underground scene. So I really understand being in your little alternative universe and figuring out how to build community there.
When you see an artist, can you kind of tell if they're going to make it?
That is the premise of my whole business, figuring that out. And it's not a science. And we talk about this all the time internally. Like that's what we're trying to do, right? Because the whole business is interesting because it really changed into this thing where it's really financial modeling, right? It's a lot of research. When I say research, this is data, algorithms, things popping up. I have friends that are in finance that do trading. It feels like that. It's they're looking at their screens, something blinks green that is an anomaly. They dig into it. They do some research. They analyze data, and then they have a meeting about it and whether or not they want to meet the artist, right? So, at no point are they really talking about the music, right? That's really where the business is headed. And, they're looking at the data, they're looking at that, they're looking at P&L reports, they're making investment decisions, which, I don't begrudge that. That's great for them if they want to do that. For me, I love the art. So I'm investing in an artist, right? And understanding what an artist is hard. And the only way, once an artist is established and they figure their thing out, they're finding success. So these data analyst guys are already outbidding anything that I could do. Right. So I have to come in and be able to see the future of what an artist is going to be and bet on that future. Right. And that's very hard to do scientifically. And it really goes down to old fashioned gut. And, I just got to trust my instincts a lot. And I've been wrong probably more than I've been right. But I would say that, the times that you're right outweighs the times you're wrong.
When you're taking on a new artist, how many years in advance are you trying to plan out a trajectory for them?
2 or 3, 5 years, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Easily.
And you map it out of this is how we're going to get there. This is what we got to do. This is what we got to maintain. This is what you're doing right. This is what you're doing wrong.
I will sign an artist that I just believe in as people and help them figure out what the music is going to be, right? I work with them to be okay, my company's called the Artist Group, right? And the reason for that is because my premise is that people like songs, but they fall in love with artists. They're not putting a poster of the song on the wall. They're putting a poster of the artist on the wall. Two people can sing the same song. It'll be successful for one, not successful for the other. Why is that? Because people connect to the soul of the artist that they believe in. There's something when they sing that people feel. People's I feel that. I feel that. I vibe with that. It's energy. They're just vibing with the energy of that. So when I see that in a person, then you really have to develop three things in that person. One, you have to develop amazing music with them. Two, you have to develop their leadership ability, right? And three, you have to develop, who they are, right, as people, as they grow.
Were you very conscious of all of that when you were doing Cobra to make sure that you had the right takes, the right branding, the right marketing?
I was conscious of making it bigger than life. Like even from the beginning of like, what's the origin story of Cobra Starship, right? It needs to be a mythology. It can't just be like, oh, hey, 4 people came back together. It just has to be different. It has to be something different. So that is kind of, if you call that marketing, I'm very not scientific about this stuff. There are marketing people that I talk to, I'm just like, wow. I'm just like, you're a genius. Like, you have like all these processes. I'm not a process oriented person. I'm a very just like, I feel it and I go where I feel. So I really just try to refine that aspect because that's what I have that's different. I think other people really have the technical part of the marketing, the we check off these boxes, whatever. I'm just always asking, I'm like, is this interesting? Am I excited by this? And if the answer is no, I'm honest with myself enough to be like, go back and keep working on it. And most people don't want to do that.
What other investments did you do?
Oh my God, you don't want to know about my investments.
I saw restaurants.
Yeah.
Did you do Angels and Demons?
Angels and Kings, yeah.
Angels and Kings.
I did that too, yeah. Yeah, I have weird investments. When people ask about things I invested in, because it's like I always took any money I made and I didn't spend it. I wanted to. I'm an immigrant, so I grew up with nothing. So like I was always scared of having nothing. So whenever I made something, I wouldn't spend it. I would try to put into something to make more money.
Did you like being a restaurateur?
I liked the soft dollar value that it brought. I wasn't the restaurateur. I had very close friends who were. They were like, when you're a kid, you have friends that make music. Some of them end up working in restaurants, and some of them are just like, fuck, music's not going to work. I'm going to go into this restaurant thing. And so I had a couple of friends that were like that. And we all just came together and put like a little group and did one restaurant, and that worked out really well. So then we did a couple other ones, and one of my friends just went crazy with it. And he's got a big business doing restaurants now in New York. He did all the F&B, the food and beverage for One Hotels in New York. So like he's big time now. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But I did a few of them. I got lucky. It's not like a smart business to be involved in. There's a great soft dollar value of just like come to my restaurant. I remember when I got signed. This is a great story. When I got signed with Cobra Starship at Atlantic, FBR was at Atlantic, FBR was at Atlantic. They had just hired this like top dog video guy who's like still one of my boys. His name was Dave Saslow, to come in and run the video department. And he was actually amazing for Cobra Starship. He's the one that helped us. That vibe of the Cobra videos, that comes from him, like he had a different vision of like, this is bigger than working out. This is bigger than the scene. This is a New York thing. He's a very New York guy. That's his thing. He's like a New York guy. So he lived in Tribeca, and one of my places was in Tribeca. And he's like, oh, I live in Tribeca. I'm like, oh, cool. I have a restaurant. I have a spot in Tribeca. He goes, what spot? I go, Smith & Mills. He goes, I love that spot. He's like, let's go there. I'm like, cool. And he was like, he thought I was bullshitting him. So he's like, let's go there. Let's go have a drink there. And then I went there, I took him there to it. And he's like, wow, like this dude, we just like, from his mind, he's signing this 25-year-old artist who's like, basically, broke, and like, this is their dream of like getting signed to a label. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, come to my restaurant, Dave. So there's that soft dollar value of just like, you can have like, it's a little bit of just like the bragging rights to it, which is like, I don't personally like it that much, but I think in business, you need some of that stuff sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you involved in any of the stuff now?
Yeah, I still have equity in those places, 2 places in New York. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What made you want to set...
I won't do more. It's a bad investment.
What made you want to set up base camp in LA?
Having kids. Yeah. Having kids. A few things were happening, but like basically the business moved out here. Like young artists really weren't coming into New York anymore. The studios closed down in New York. A lot of stuff just felt like it was moving here. And then, I don't know if I wanted to raise kids in Manhattan. I didn't want to move to the boroughs or the suburbs, God forbid. Although I loved Jersey growing up, I just, once you live in the city, it's hard to go back.
Do you ever go back?
I go back, yeah. I was just there recently. My stepbrother got married. Yeah. I like it. It's fun. Jersey's cool. You go back?
Holidays, that's it.
Holidays, yeah. Your family still lives there?
Yes.
Yeah. Marlboro still?
No, Monroe.
Monroe. Okay.
Yeah. I like it out here so much better.
3M's, Marlboro, Monroe, Montclair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing here. California is unbelievable.
It's the dream.
It's really just like you're in heaven every day. You know.
What was it like when you were touring? Was it insane
part?
just being from city to city?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like you were part of also like chaos on tour.
I was part of chaos.
Pranks, shenanigans.
Yeah. Touring is tough because I love playing shows. So the 30, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it is that you're on stage is just like, that's what it's all about to me. Everything else around touring is just like, just slowly kills you. You know, it's very hard to do that for a long time. And I did it for years. I did it for 10 years.
The bus ride, the small bunk.
But yeah, also I'm 6'4", so I don't fit in those bunks.
Where do you sleep?
I'm in the bunk bed, like you're like sideways. You get cranks on your neck all the time. Like it's fucked up. My back hurts. Like, you know. And I'm also like a person like, you know, I just need my stuff organized my way. Like I need my space, you know. And when you force yourself to be like cramped with other people, not have your space, you slowly start losing your mind, or you just start drinking a lot to deal with it, you know. So I just drank a lot to deal with it.
Would you sleep in the front too?
No, because people come in and out. It's not that comfortable, you know. Sometimes I took the back lounge as my room.
Was it hard
to?
hard to avoid partying all the time if you were drinking a lot?
Of course, you're partying every night. Every night's a party.
Did you ever lose yourself to it?
Always, yeah, of course. I mean, the surprising thing is not that I lost myself. The surprising thing is that I got my way back. That's the surprising thing. Yeah. Most people lose themselves forever.
I mean, you seem in great shape.
Thank you so much. It's hard work. It wasn't easy.
Skin looks flawless.
Thank you.
Why is that?
Is that my cue to talk about Protégé?
Oh, what is Protégé?
Oh my God. So the other thing that I'm doing, if you're talking about investments in business, is basically, long story short, but I was inspired to do for my bros and their faces what Liquid Death did for water. So this is Protégé. Here you go, bro. You were one of the first people to actually see it live in the flesh.
Oh, wow. Is it out now?
It just came out. Here you go.
Wow.
And this is the box. It's a beautiful punk rock looking box.
Oh, I love it.
So basically, you know, as me and my friends got into our 30s, a lot of my friends didn't want to buy face cream, buy anything. That's all for you. That's all.
Thank you.
Your goodie bag. Do anything for the faces. Some of them became connoisseurs, right? And for those people, they have their regimen, they have their 7 steps they do. But some guys were just like kind of turned off by the whole thing or confused, or it's like, you know, they just don't
overwhelming.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make an easy all-in-one that actually works, that is everything you would need in as easy and affordable package as possible.
And when do I put it on? In the morning or night?
After you shower in the morning, yeah.
Easy.
You can use it at night too. It has SPF in it, so it's kind of, the SPF doesn't really help you at night, but
right.
The retinol helps all the time. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
What do you use right now?
Whatever my wife gives me.
Exactly. And is it a brand that you're like stoked to like have?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah. You have no idea what it is.
I'm a puppet.
Yeah.
Whatever she says.
What about deodorant? Does your wife buy your deodorant?
No, I have to use Arm & Hammer.
Yeah.
That's the only one that works.
Yeah. You don't use Old Spice?
It never worked for me. I still sweat through it.
Really?
Yeah.
The soft solid?
Oh, those are the worst. I can't do the gels.
No, not a gel. It's a soft solid. I don't know.
I need like that white.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That
Try
Old
it.
Spice wouldn't work for me.
The bar? Use the bar Old Spice?
The one like you rotate it and it pops up.
The whole bar pops up.
Yes.
Not a soft solid popping up through little holes.
No, those definitely don't work.
You sure?
1000%.
Okay.
It just makes me sweat more. It's weird.
Really?
I need Botox in my armpits.
Wow.
If you can sell that.
I've heard that works.
It does. I did it once.
Really?
Groupon in New Jersey. It's the sketchiest thing. It was near
How long did it
Monmouth
last
University. It lasts for like 3 months, 4 months.
Did your armpits feel weird?
No, it's just different because you're not sweating all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
It's probably good to sweat.
It is. Well, they say the negative is that now it comes out through other parts. So a lot of people, when you get armpit Botox, it comes out through your hands.
No.
But that didn't happen.
Okay.
That did not happen to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
What was touring with Cascade like?
We didn't tour with Cascade. We just did, I think we just did a few festivals or shows with them.
Oh.
But I think that's interesting about Cobra Starship is that we had the ability to play with like electronic acts and punk rock acts.
So many different.
Yeah. That's like, I think that was rare and that we could do that.
Was that something that you aimed for in the beginning, that you wanted to be
Yes.
universal?
Yes, I wanted to do that. I wanted to have songs that like you could play at venues that people will mosh, but also I could walk into a club and hear the song too, which is a hard line to walk. Yeah.
Very hard, but you did it.
I think, thank God, yeah. Check that box off.
Are paychecks for festivals way bigger? Or, I mean, I know they're bigger than just a regular headlining show, but is it way more lucrative to be a festival band versus a touring band?
I don't know because I'm not in the touring game anymore. Like I haven't toured in 10 years. But I think it's just like anything else to be there in festivals. There's like the bands that really make money, and then there's like everyone else. You know, there's
Like if you're at the top of the bill.
yeah. So it depends on where you are and who you are. Also, what your setup is like, how you're traveling.
How many people are in it? How many do you have to pay?
Yeah. So it
Oh.
all depends. But from my general understanding, it's probably easier to collect a check at a festival than to have to sell your own tickets. You know.
Right.
So if you become like a favorite festival band, you can do all the festivals. Maybe you'll make more money than having to like sell your own tickets.
Was touring always profitable for you?
Thank God. At least we broke even. I didn't lose money on touring. And I think that's because we did really well in merch early on. We were like a big merch band.
I remember everyone wearing the Cobra Starship.
Yeah. So even when we didn't, have good guarantees, we would do well in merch.
Right.
Good.
How'd you come up with the Protégé formula?
So it's an interesting story. So what happened was I used to use this one product that I bought at CVS my whole life because people would always ask me, "What's your face regimen? What are you doing?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. I just use this like cheap product from CVS. I'll give it to you here." And they discontinued it. And I was like, "What?" And so I looked into it, and it had retinol. I didn't know what retinol was at the time, and retinol is what makes your skin like stay young in a way. It keeps the wrinkles and lines out, and they repackaged it in like a little pump and wanted to charge 3 times as much for it. At the same time, Liquid Death was taken off, and I'm just like, I can do this. I should make something that's fun in men's skincare and like more for like punk rock music people. It doesn't exist.
Right.
You just opened it up.
I did.
Yeah, you're on camera. Yeah.
I love that you have the little tip.
The little spike that you pierce it.
Very punk rock.
Yeah. Pierce the veil, literally.
Very Pierce the Veil. Goes on smooth.
Wow.
How many?
You feel it tingle right away a little bit. You should.
It feels beautiful. It goes on smooth.
So it's not greasy. There's no scents.
No.
Yeah, I just want it to be something simple and like that every guy could use.
What's nice is that you put the SPF in it because
Right.
that's a big thing for a lot of people.
It has SPF and you don't have to worry about it. You can take that with you on the plane. It's easy.
How long did you work on the recipe
Years.
for?
Years. I've literally been working on this for years. So I had the name Protégé. I think I've had the website for maybe 10 years. So I think I had the name before I even had what I wanted to do with it.
Oh.
And then this kind of idea came to me. I'm just like, oh, this should be Protégé. Looks good, right?
Yeah.
Do it just to one half of your face and see what happens.
Just tan.
And then I started to develop, the formula. And first you got to find the factory, the lab that's going to actually develop the chemists and all that stuff. And that was really hard. That took years to find the right people that know what they're doing, want to work with you. And also because I have SPF in it, it has to be like a federal FDA regulated lab. So that's hard to find.
Does it cost a lot to start a product like this?
Yes, a lot of money.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have investors?
No, not yet, but I'm going to start. I wanted to kind of prove it myself first.
Uh-huh.
And, they say when you're starting a business, hold out getting investors for as long as you can.
And is this your first product?
My first product ever made.
Oh, how cool.
I mean, I've done music. I don't like calling music products. I hate when people call music product, but it's kind of the same idea. It's like you're building something to bring value to people's lives in some way.
Are you friends with the Liquid Death people?
I am friendly with some people that work there, yeah.
I like the bottle.
It's aluminum, so it's metal, so it crumples up when you use it. Yeah.
And all of those things come into play when you're figuring out how to do it. You're like, I want
Everything.
this.
Every single element.
I want the stab cap.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. It's like making music. I put little like Easter eggs in the back there, like on all the like legal stuff. I wrote like made in the USA, so you stop effing up your face.
So you stop effing up your face. Oh, it's made in the USA.
Yeah, made in the USA. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you been to the factory?
Yes, I have. We went to pick it up. We filmed it.
How cool.
It was really cool. They're at the beginning. I think they were so confused by us. They're like, "Wait, what?" Like, what's the package gonna look like? You know, like, and like the workers that are there like think it's so cool, you know. So it's good. Protege for me, like this is for the people. This is like an affordable product that everyone can access. That like can just be something you don't have to think about too much. For people that really have jobs and don't have time to worry about this shit.
Where can people get it?
Right now, it's just D2C on our website, protege.com. And eventually, like, I want this to be a brand that's everywhere. That like you go pick up your deodorant, you pick up your Protege.
Do you do deodorant yet?
No, but we have a long pipeline of products that eventually, that's when we really become a real company.
Okay, because you asked me about my deodorant. I'd love to weigh in.
Yeah, I'd love to have your input on deodorant.
As someone who struggled for years to find deodorant that works.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe you design your own deodorant?
Love to.
Yeah.
There was one that I used, like...
The Joe for Protege?
Please. In junior year of high school, I got like this expensive one, but it would leave rashes, but it worked.
Really?
So it was like the cost of sweating or not. I used to get pit stains all the way down to my waist.
Are you for real?
On my shirt, yeah.
How common is that?
I was in a band and my bandmate also had it. So I think a lot of people had it. I would bring like multiple shirts everywhere I went, so that I had to change.
Do you see any difference when you have a different diet? When you travel, is it any different?
I think when I'm in Europe, it's not as strong.
Really?
Yeah. Same with my hair. I get a lot of like dandruff here, but when I'm in Europe, nothing.
Huh. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Why
Study me.
We should study you. Just study. Yeah. Where in Europe do you go? Do you go to Italy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What was your first CD you ever got?
The first music that I ever bought was a vinyl record, and that was White Snake. Here We Go Again. I must have been like 5 years old.
Did you know what it was?
I heard the song on the radio. I just loved the song, so I like asked my parents to go to the record store to buy that song. And I remember I used to like try to record on the cassette whenever the DJ would play the song. I don't remember the name of that album, but that was the first album that I bought per piece of music. And the first CD I bought was Another Bad Creation, Chilling at the Playground.
Bad Creation.
Another Bad Creation, ABC. Do you remember that?
No.
It was like a little kid hip hop group from the 90s. It's so cool. Boys to Men, ABC, BBD. You know that?
No.
Oh, it's so cool.
I
hope you put a clip of that in this thing when you do it.
Mine was Chumbawamba because it had the purple baby on it.
Yes.
And then I remember taping Blink-182 every time they would come on the countdown. I would just grab any VHS and just pop it in and record. Like, I got it.
I didn't have cable, so I couldn't watch MTV.
Oh, really?
I was not allowed to have cable. No Nickelodeon for me, nothing.
Did you ever perform late night shows?
Yeah, we did a lot of them. Oh, wow. I have a great Jay Leno story.
Please.
So I told you I'm from South America, right? So my dad is like very into like rhythmic music, you know, like he like loves listening to like indigenous recordings of people like drumming and stuff, like, so he loves that. So when Cobras came out, he's like, man, Gabe, the rhythms is so good in this, like you really like, I really feel like this could just really hit, you know, for everybody. It's just the rhythms, man. If you just like get on Jay Leno or something, you know, then I feel like everyone here, this would be huge, you know? So that was always his thing, his barometer for making is like, if you're on Jay Leno, then it's not, I'm like, okay, that's not the way the business works, but like, cool that you think that. So, you know, years later, we end up on Jay Leno. And Jay comes backstage to like say hi to you before he goes on, and he's talking to us. And then like he's talking to us, I'm like, I remember that story. I'm like, oh Jay, I got a funny story for you. So I told him what I just told you, and he laughs. He goes, let's call your dad. I'm like, right now? He's like, yeah, let's call your dad. So we call my dad's office. My dad is a doctor in Jersey, so we call his Dr. Saporta's office, and he goes, hi, is the Dr. Saporta available? This is he's like, who's this guy? This is Jay Leno. They hang up on him. I'm like, let me call Jay. I got it. I'm like, hi, this is Gabe. Is my dad available? And he's like, yeah, let me get him on. And so they get him. I'm like, that was actually Jay Leno. And so my dad goes, it's Jay Leno. He goes, Dr. Saporta, you're harder to get to than the president.
Were you nervous for performing on TV then?
Yes, I was nervous for performing on TV. I was not good. I was not a good TV performer then. Also, like, the technology then that we have now wasn't good. So TV performances always sounded bad back then. Now they all sound good. Now they have much better technology for that.
Was it all live normally?
Yeah, so it's live or recorded live.
Right.
You know, yeah. And also it's like the middle of the day. It's like no vibe. You know, it's like I really feed off the energy of the crowd. So like when you're playing in a studio seated audience and people are just like, whatever, you know, it's like, it's different. We did Jimmy Kimmel live one time when he did the garage outdoors. That was awesome.
Right.
Yeah, it was very cool.
I go back and watch a lot of performances.
You do?
Yeah. Do you ever go back and watch your own performances?
Never.
Really?
Never. I mean, maybe just right after I watched the When We Were Young stuff.
To see how you did?
Yeah, but I won't go back like 10 years and watch something.
Not even as like a trip down memory lane? Even to show your child?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I will do that. Yeah, yeah. But no, I don't really like just like sit around and do that.
You're not searching yourself on YouTube?
No, like if I'm like, the most recent time I did that was when we were putting together the Cobra show. I'm like, wait, how did this go? What was this transition? What did we used to do? So I had to like search up old videos, which was actually interesting. It's like quite a trip, you know, but I try to not get into like sentimental places as much as possible. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I heard a quote once when I was younger that always resonated with me, which is like, sentimentality is the failure of true emotion. So I just try not to be as sentimental as much as possible.
It's locking away emotions.
No, you still can have real emotions, but if you're sentimental, it's not real emotions. That's kind of the idea.
Oh.
I don't know if it's true or not, you know, but I don't know what being sentimental does. Am I sentimental?
Yeah, I feel like you are.
In the moment, I can be very sentimental, but
I'm like confused by this.
in the past, like I'm not like, I don't go back to the past that much in general, you know? So
Always
like,
forward thinking.
Always forward thinking, yeah. Always looking to the future.
What else do you have coming up?
Besides Protege and Tag and the Cobra shows, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully a vacation.
Thank you so much for coming by, Gabe.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate this.
This has been awesome. I'm so excited to use this.
Yeah, I hope you like it.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, it's out. That was so great.
Was it good?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I had no idea what to expect.